All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Talk at 8. My name is Alton. I'll be your host. As is customary, every Thursday we do a show where we talk about a host of different sporting codes and we showcase people and how sport has changed their lives. Tonight is no different. Of the four guests, two are on time. Aphinda's got electricity problems and he'll join us shortly. And Daniel's got a bit of a family crisis, so he'll join us on another time. But doesn't deter the fact that we are here and that we have these lovely two people here who's come to tell us a little bit about how sport has changed their lives. And it's interesting that they are completely opposite but yet similar. And we'll unpack some of that in a bit. Miss Megan, good evening. How are you?
Hi, Elton. No, I'm very well, thank you. It's lovely to be here with you. It's been quite a while.
It's been a while. If I remember correctly, I think it's almost a year ago that you and I did a show on nutrition and how one needs to focus on dietary aspects.
Yes.
Do you remember that little podcast we did?
I did, and it was a load of fun, and so it was really nice to to come back and to chat to you again. So thank you for having me.
However, this time we're not talking about dietary stuff. We'll touch on it a little bit, but tonight we want to talk about you, because behind the dietitian is a runner and someone who's been involved in sport, I think, for most of her life. But you and I go back to 2001, 2002 when you were writing for bicycling and men's health, and we'll get to that in a minute. But before we get to that, tell us who you are. Who is Megan? That's what I want to know.
Okay, so it's always easy to speak about the subject or what you do for a living, but when it comes to speaking about yourself, it's a little bit more tricky. So, who's Megan? Well, a Free Stater, born and bred, and decided at the age of 8 already that one day I wanted to come live in Cape Town. So when I finished university, came down to Cape Town. Got married and have lived here ever since. And I then got divorced in 2011 or end of 2010. And those also led to a whole lot of life-changing events for me. But I think what has been fabulous, and that's what we're here to speak about, I think, tonight, is how the togetherness of being involved in sport has basically also shaped my life as it's moved forward.
So what have you done from a sporting perspective over your life's journey?
So I come from a very sporty family, of which I am not the sporty sibling. Come from a family where I've got a grandfather who was a Springbok, a brother who played rugby in the UK, and then also sisters who played hockey and Free State, etc. And then there was me, and I used to do more speech and drama, and so always a little bit of sport, but nothing much. Bit of tennis, loved synchronized swimming. That was what I did at school, and swimmed, galas, etc. So I was never really a big sports person, and that I hope will also speak to everyone that's listening tonight, that you don't always have to be this big sports person. And then I came down to Cape Town, and the first thing I heard about was the August cycle tour. So I went off and I bought myself a bicycle that I knew very little about, and it was on a special for 999 Rand, and it was pink, and I bought myself a pink helmet. And I then went and did my first August, knowing nothing. And it took me about 6 hours to do it for my first one. And then subsequently I did another, in total did 13. And then I really fell in love with it and fell in love with exercise and with sport. But I think the life-changing event where I started becoming a little bit more competitive and realizing that maybe I could actually push myself a bit more was in 2010, where I decided to climb Kilimanjaro. And that, if you're talking about sport, I think that was a very big event for me, and I absolutely loved it. And hiking then became, one of my first loves in terms of sport. I came back and I did a few other hikes around the world. And then I decided I'm going to see if I can run, because I never really run more than about 5 kilometers. And that's how it took off. I joined at that point in my life. I was advised to do Run Walk for Life. And I phoned the coach, and he said to me, yes, Coach Paul, he said to me, it was the December, I can train you and you can do a 21. And it was, of course, my first 21, which was the 2 oceans. And subsequently, I've done 11 of those. And I basically, my journey was always one of participation, one of finishing. And it's ended up with me also doing pace setting. And I absolutely love the people and the camaraderie. So that's been my journey. It's been one of participation and a great love because of hiking is, of course, having got into trail running. And so I've done a 3-day trail run. And that's one thing that I really like to pursue is trail running. So it's a combination of road running and trail running.
Megs, and ladies and gentlemen, whether you're on Insta, YouTube, or Facebook, you're welcome to drop a comment or question. Megs, what was interesting out of your journey is that Kili stood out for you. Not the fact that you've done so many cycle tours, that you've done so many 2 oceans. Why? What makes Kili so different?
It pushed my limits. I had to really, we had the most amazing people that trained us. I think many people in the circles, particularly in Cape Town area, will know Ahmad Jackson. And if you do, he's one of the guys that trained me, and he's phenomenal. And he set the rules right from the start. We trained for 9 weekends. We did different routes. He decided what the routes were going to be. We had to arrive there on time. We were not allowed to be late. But you couldn't get a better person to train you. And he still does that today. So, if you ever anyone's considering doing it, they should really, hook up with him and ask him. And he basically showed us the love of hiking, but also more importantly, that hiking is a team sport. And that's what I love about it. It's really that whole togetherness of people and the positivity. And it stood out because the training itself, I remember going my first hike with him, halfway up Cluttercliffe. And him and Fuad Jacobs were training us. And I said to Fuad, I'm terribly sorry, but I'll wait for you. I couldn't anymore. I could hardly breathe. I said, you go. And he said, no. He says, no, we're not going to go. I'm going to help you up here. We're going to get to the top. And they never left. They don't leave anyone behind. And they trained us so well that the only real challenge was the final day of summiting, starting at 11 o'clock at night, going up to the top, getting there at around about 7:30, and then having to come back. But you can't come back to the summit camp because of, the altitude. You have to go further down. So we only got to the camp where we were going to sleep. So you walk from like 11 o'clock the night to the next evening, 6 o'clock. Yeah. So that's what makes you. So that really togetherness of the people that you're with really came through, and the positivity and the assistance, and just, that stood out for me. And I still, we hike with those friends today, and we've done other hikes, Inca Trail, things like that around the world. It's been wonderful.
And what was it like summiting? How do you compare that to finishing a running or cycling race? Is it similar? Because, you also almost have to think of it in terms of preparation, packing, competition. Competition in your case is climbing Kili. As slow as the walk may be, it's still a competition to get to the top. What was it like at the top? And then we'll come to Tony.
So can I say breathless? Because I could hardly breathe. Because I did feel just before, about half an hour before we got to the top, there's like one area that you stop. And I actually said to the head guide, he'd done it like 80 times. I said to him, I think there's something wrong. I said, because I can hardly breathe. He said to me, look at me. And I looked at him and he said, no, you're fine. Which was obviously, you actually want to believe that you actually aren't fine. And when someone turns around and says, actually you are fine, because obviously he can see if you're focusing or not, and if there's an issue. And he said, no, you're fine. And I said, but I've got a headache. He said, you'll be fine. So you carry on going because that's what you come to do. So you push through that. And that's what I think doing things that are endurance, and even with like doing a marathon, when I get to that last like 5Ks or whatever, I have to push. It's for me, that's what makes it a challenge, and it goes beyond just fitness or anything like that. It's for me, it's a mental thing, and that was what I think the last little 20 half an hour 20 minutes, half an hour of Kili was. It was a mental challenge, but the most amazing feeling when you do get to the top, that feeling of I'm a normal average person and I did this. And it just shows you we're all capable of it. We're all capable of it. And then you do it with people, and everyone celebrates each other, which I think is always the best about sport. And that's what I've learned a lot about. Yeah.
It's about the camaraderie and about the team and about the support.
For me, that tops everything. I'm going to be honest with you. That's the most important thing. Yeah.
Good. Antonio, good evening. You appeared in this podcast before you were even here. In the sense that one of the earlier guests, straight after Comrades, mentioned that she got you going into running in Arendse. So tell us a little bit about your journey, my friend.
Sure. Good evening. Good evening to all the viewers, all the people joining in. So my journey, it's been an interesting one. So it started off just more than 6 years ago. What happened was I just got to Johannesburg, and then 2-3 months after that, I got a vehicle. And then after that, I was like, okay, like I'm going to start doing something now. And I just felt I needed to start running. So I went on a parkrun website, and then I started joining parkruns. Then I started working that side in that time. And I remember my colleague was talking about races and races. Like, what's happening? What's going on with, what's a race? What's that? Yeah. And I started doing the Discovery Vitality Run series in Johannesburg. And then I think I did 2 10K races. And then I started looking on Facebook, and I saw in Arendse. That's sort of like where that, links up. And I remember I sent a screenshot on that post. Yeah. And that was about the interaction that has happened at that point in time. It's a reference what she was sharing about. And that was essentially, how do you run 10 kilometers in under an hour? Because I just started out, I was doing 67 minutes. I went into 62 minutes, and I was like, how do you do? And then she just did it. And I was like, how do you do that? Yeah. And then she gave me advice to just keep on training, keep on going. And not too long after that, I did it, So that's essentially how that happened. But for me, it started with parkruns, and then it got into 10K 6 months after I started. So I started May 2018, and then November was my first half marathon. And I remember somebody told me after 2 10Ks, I was like, yo, can I do a half marathon? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So then I was like, I'm going to sign up. Yeah. And then a year after my first half marathon, I did a marathon. So I did the Soweto marathon, 5 hours, 37 minutes.
Sure. But having said that, Soweto marathon is not a traditional marathon, because the roads aren't closed. You got to navigate through the taxis. You got to jump over the stalls. It's not a race, really.
Well, there's Vilakazi Street, and that was my downfall, But then after that, the journey essentially was, then that was 2019. Then it was COVID, and I moved back to Cape Town from Johannesburg. I am Cape Town born and bred, so I was back home. Then it was lockdown, and I went from not just doing road running to buying a pair of trail shoes into trail running. So now I was doing both. And the interesting thing is for many people, if not most people, COVID was really hectic. It really hit a lot of people from a fitness perspective. For me, it was an opportunity to start heading in that direction. And I used it as an opportunity to focus on my mental health as well, like really take that seriously and start thinking about that. So then from there, I journeyed on. I started training with Musla Wheels. Shout out to them, Mike from Micro Obri, the coach. Journeyed with him ever since. It's been an incredible journey, to the point where I've done 3 Two Oceans, 3 Comrades marathons, and many other events as well. I'm going for my 5th 3 Peaks challenge in November. So that's a permanent number, and it's trail running. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey.
And Antonio, are you doing 3 peaks in the 48 hours like some other people I know, or are you doing it over a longer period?
No, you're thinking about 13 Peaks.
Oh, 13 peaks.
You see, I'm talking about the 3 Peaks challenge that happens in November. So you climb all 3 peaks on the same day. So Devil's Peak, Table Mountain, Lion's Head. Yeah.
Sure.
I still want to do that challenge, like, in the future at some point. I've done the multi-day, but I haven't done it in like 48 hours or 24 hours.
That's hardcore. What would you say is the highlight out of all of that you've shared now? Because that's a very detailed and expensive journey in running.
Yeah, I think the highlight for me is definitely the Comrades Marathon, 2023, last year. That race, I mean, I remember that day like it was yesterday. Everything was absolutely on point from start to finish. I had all the energy in the world at the end of that race. Some people thought I could run back to Pietermaritzburg. I gave that interview there on SuperSport. That was amazing. Everything just worked out perfectly as I expected and as executed. It's amazing when something like that happens, especially for such an endurance event, such a long event that you trained so many months, that was definitely indeed the highlight for me.
Antonio, Shawnee says on Facebook that you speak with so much passion about your journey. Is it really something that's almost, and if I look at you and even makes it's like it's part of your DNA right now?
100%. I wouldn't be where I am right now in this moment in time if it wasn't for running. Life is too short not to enjoy the moment where you are. So it's important to find your passion. It's important to find, what is it that drives you. I found running, and I'm so grateful that I did. And there's so many times I wake up and I'm like, it's amazing to be fit. It's such a privilege, to be honest. I mean, if I am not able to run, I'll still be able to live. I cycle, I do CrossFit, I do gym, I can hike. I've hiked all over Cape Town. There's a lot of other things I can do. I want to swim. There's a lot of things. I have a lot of things I want to do. But I think for me, running is the main thing. And what I like about it the most is there's so many goals that I have. There's so many things I haven't achieved. And there's so many things I have achieved. But it's things that I haven't achieved, and the goals, the ability to set goals within a little bit of a long-term period of time that excites me. To be able to, continue driving and waking up every day, knowing that one day you're setting yourself up for something amazing.
And what you do today is the building block for tomorrow, and that's
100%.
That's how we build. So for those of you who tuned in, you're welcome to ask Antonio or Megan any questions, whether on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. My question to both of you then is: you both come from a strong running community. Makes you in Table View with your club, and even as a pace setter, Antonio with you with Musla Wheels. What's it like running in a community? What's that feeling like, as opposed to running on your own? Anyway, Meg, let's go with you first.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I need people around me, so it's what motivates me. We've got like a WhatsApp group within the club, little groups where people can join, and you can be part of it, all of them or any of them. And I'm part of 2 or 3, and especially one of the groups we run regularly together, and they are just wonderfully committed. So I didn't think I would ever be that person that woke up at 5 o'clock on a winter's morning during the week and went and ran at 5:30. But here we are, and so I mean, I think you also get to that point where you like look at your phone and like, is anyone going to cancel? And then no one cancels, and then you go. And I need that, that motivation, and that's what I love about being in our community, and everyone supports each other. So we do it together. And if there's a race, everyone tells each other about the race, and we enter, and everyone drives together, and it's a whole thing. And very often, if it's something like a bigger race or a longer race, for us, it's about the training together. It's the race is obviously the cherry on top, but it's the training together, and we've got each other's back, and everyone celebrates everyone else, and we're there to basically be everyone's cheerleader, and that's what I love about my West Coast athletic club. They are always there. Doesn't matter if it's your first time, if you are the star of the club, we are there to support you, and we are thrilled to have you on board. We've got people that started that really came in and didn't even really walk much, and today they're running, and we've got other people that have done such amazing things. So I love it.
Antonio, from your perspective, I mean, if I look at your socials and I look at other people's socials who are part of Must Love Heels, it's like you guys are just having a party as opposed to running. Because there's always fierce, there's always 50 to 100 people at any given activity. What's it like for you?
It's absolutely incredible. It's like, imagine having one match that you like, and now imagine if you're having 100. It's going to be so much more lit,
Yeah.
So that's what it's like, it's we are not meant to do this life alone. We were meant to connect. So for me, it's always a privilege to know that there's people that I can come to, go to, that I can do the things that I love with. That's amazing, and that's how I want to live. Like Meg said, she shared she needs people. I also do. It's part of who I am. And it's wonderful to be able to be surrounded by like-minded people who also can do what you love. And, Must Love Heels has grown from strength to strength. I was there 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago when I came to Cape Town. It was very small at that point in time. I was there, I trained. There was 10 people, 11 people. Now there's 100 people, every single week. Just there. Then there's Community Track Club. Then there's Full Send, Road to Oceans. Road to Cape Town Marathon. You can check them out on Instagram, Full Send Running. There's also the trail, Full Send Trail. There's both of those. So now we do everything, and I've done road and trail, for now ever since lockdown. But now it's not just me that's doing it. It's all kinds of people that's doing it. And because the community is growing, like it's scary how it's growing at the moment. It's scary. It's crazy. I think the city of Cape Town might start having question marks, like, what's happening here? Is this a race? These are the things that's popping up. But I mean, it's just amazing to be able to be in this type of space where there's just so many people, like-minded people, where I can have a goal, and there's like tens and, there's so many other people that has the same goals, So, and also what I like about it is it's nice to be surrounded by people that are not just slower than you, but also faster than you.
Yeah.
So it kind of pushes you, but you also are there as an inspiration to pull others up to help you going. Because I chat to a lot of the guys from that community particularly, and they say often I've got to take somebody with me to do the intervals up roads, someone who's slower, and I've got to push them, or I've got to go with someone faster. And for me, that's what a community is about.
100%, and that's beautiful, and it's, if you think about it, imagine somebody says I love heels, like that wouldn't be the natural thing,
thing.
But it's no, but that's what we live by, that's the name. And the interesting thing is, like, people come, they start, it's for everyone, and they start to just realize how amazing this is, as painful as it is to run up an elevated hill. People just come, they realize, okay, let's just stop complaining. There's other people that wants to complain as well. But you know what? At the end of the day, they're not doing it alone. There's others here as well. So it just makes the pain so much more bearable.
Absolutely.
It
Megs, you
also
want to say
breaks
something?
down
Yeah?
divides. Sorry.
Sorry?
No, I also feel like particularly running now, because that's what we're involved in. But from my side, is it breaks down any divides. It's like all of a sudden, these people that it's just a more positive mindset, and these are people that aren't just running, buddies. They become friends, and they just have, they believe in you, and you believe in them, and you've got each other's back. And I just love that, and they, when you believe you can't, they'll say no, but you can, and you kind of push your limits because the people around you believe in you, and obviously they're right, they are, and that's what I like, because they become your friends and they want the best for you, and that's such a lovely vibe in the community, and it's all about participation. I love that.
Definitely. So let me ask each of you this question. You are so committed in what you do. Antonio, how do you balance your day job with running? Because what it sounds like, you run all day. You actually work.
No, I do. I think the important thing is, like, being able to focus. Sometimes I feel like I don't get it right. But the thing is, the important thing is to be able to focus. At the end of the day, I'm still young. I'm 30. So I know that I'm going to retire at some point. But that's going to be a very long time. I'm going to spend most of my time is not running. It's sitting with an office chair. I also work from home. So for me, I know the importance of making sure that I put myself in a position where I'm also good at what I do in my day job, and that's been going quite well. And I think that has to do with, also being able to implement the same focus that I get from running, also implemented in my day job. So it's the ability to sort of wake up without having that sort of stress. Oh my goodness, I have to work again. Oh my goodness, Monday is coming. So for me, it's been a journey as well, just in terms of how can I stop having those thoughts, and make sure that it's also something I can look forward to coming to, being able to just work, and being able to find joy, in what I do. So when you have that, it makes it a lot easier, actually, I think, to be able to balance. It's like instead of, if you're committed to something, chances are you won't yawn. You'll actually pay attention. It will naturally come to you. You'll naturally engage with it. That's also what I find with work. Once you're in it, it's like you are able to be more productive and so on. So I think I've learned to come to terms with that, and I think for me it hasn't been as difficult, in recent times, to be able to balance it. But it has to also do with commitment. But I think because throughout my life, from how I grew up in Ocean View to where I am today, a lot of it has to do with grit, determination, being able to push through boundaries, which is why I love this race. It's that as well, resilience. Yeah.
And the resilience comes from sport, but also that then pulls through into the troubles you have at your desk, because you've got to get through 100%. It and finish it.
100%. Absolutely. It must come from within, it's not easy to develop something like that. It can be developed, for me, I've had to exercise resilience, since a kid. So it's been a journey as well. And for me, knowing that, it's also very helpful, because I know that I've experienced it, then it can come out in every area of my life.
Definitely. Antonio, Shawnee says, well done, very inspiring on Facebook, on Instagram, on All My Sports page. Our good friend Paul Dietician, who was on the show, says, sometimes you spend more time with your running partner than your life partner. Because you spend more time training than you do at home or you at work.
Thanks, Paul.
Friends.
In some people's cases. Megan, you and I go way back. I think it's 2001 when we met, when you were writing articles as the dietitian, official dietitian for Men's Health and Bicycling magazine. And I've watched your journey over time, and now you're in private practice as a dietitian. How do you manage that? And coming through all of that, and being the official dietitian.
I think he was talking about being efficient with your day job. How do you manage that?
Sorry, I lost you there for a minute. So
okay, let me say again. So how do you manage your day job with all the appointments and everything, and link it back to having time to do sport, or do you do only sport in the morning? How do you balance that?
Yeah, so that's a good one. So yes, during the week, most of my sport takes place before work, except if there is something specific that we're going to do, like a race or anything like that. And then on weekends, then I think the weekend is taken up by long runs. But what I really do enjoy is that whole connection. I often sit with people who oftentimes they are excellent at, in sport. And we're talking about sports nutrition and I can see some of the things that are practical, that if I was not taking part, I could read up about them. But what you can take with you, what works, what doesn't work, how what is easy to take out when you're busy running, or all those types of things. So I've got the experience has helped me a lot. And then together with the science. And then of course on the flip side, there's a lot of people that maybe used to exercise but don't anymore, and how difficult it is for them to get back into it. And I understand that, and I understand the importance of having someone have your back, or having a buddy that you push. And I'm so glad, Antonio, you talk about parkrun, because in many of my consultations, parkrun is my go-to for many people. I will say to them, this is something you can start. You get into a routine and a habit, and that's actually one of the success things for many times for exercise for people, is to get into a routine, to get into a community, and to get excited about what they're doing as well. And I don't think many of us are really great at doing it all on our own. So the moment I can hook people up with something that they really love from an activity point of view, because it's pivotal. Everyone should, be moving more, if you for lack of a better way of putting it. And sometimes we need a bit of motivation to move more, particularly when there's Cape Town weather involved. And that's where, communities are fabulous, and getting people, they're not aware of what's always out there. We in those circles, so we know, when the next run is, or when there's some other celebration, or the park runs and everything. And people often say to me, "What's a park run?" I don't run. And then I go, "You don't have to run. You can walk this." And that's what's so exciting about that. And so every day I utilize it. And I really stress the whole thing of participation. And then on the flip side, the people that are really fast in what they do, and also with the comrades, to give them the right information. People experiencing a lot of cramping or dehydration and stuff like that. What advice and that's been proven scientifically to work, and then obviously personalizing it for that specific person. So it's been a very, very helpful thing to come alongside what I do. And I think when I do that, it also motivates me, because I'm excited to be part of people who are looking after their health in that way, or prepared to step out and go, okay, what, I am going to start exercising. I am going to do something. And nothing is too small. If a person just starts, it's a wonderful thing. And that's what I want to say to everyone is, you don't have to, start big. And one thing I always enjoy about a park run is the fact that they have a back walker, right? Am I right in saying? I can't always remember. They call them that, don't they?
Tail
Back
walker.
a tail walker. I remember I did it on the 23rd of December night to wear tail. Big bay. Couldn't remember that. And I think that's wonderful because it really is for everyone. It doesn't matter how slow you are, it's there. They want you there. It's part of it. And I think that's what I really hope to see is that everyone starts taking part in something like that. Because it's on many people's doorsteps, or even just walking around the block with your family to get people. And that's what I've tried to put into place is practical things. And then also being practical in terms of safety and what can be done and time of day. If people have long hours to work, we have to be practical. So it's really helped me as well, not to give advice that I myself wouldn't be able to utilize or not being aware of some of the challenges we have in South Africa, but rather giving advice where people can do something. And that's what's been really helpful.
Definitely. So let me ask both of you this question. Why do you keep coming back and putting those shoes on and going for the run as part A? Part B, what is about that putting the shoes on and going out to run excites you? What excites you about running? What excites you about knowing that you have a training session even though you've got to run up those hills at Rhodes, Antonio?
So
I mean, for you, it's easy because you got the beach, but we'll come to you.
It's flat.
So for me, I remember starting off, it was the 12th of May, 2018. And I did a park run in 37 minutes, So we start somewhere. And I remember asking myself a question, I think on that same day. Why is it that some people can run without stopping? And I just remembered I was just doing a park run every Saturday, every week, for like 2 months. And that's where things started to develop. And eventually I didn't realize I wasn't stopping. It just happened, And, I just grew from saying, it became addictive. That's the thing. Just to put the nail on the head. It's really addictive, I just had to quickly, insert it there. Yes. So it can be very, very addictive when you get into it. And in some cases, some addictions are good. In other cases, it can be bad. But in this case, I definitely think it's a big, big good. And I'm very grateful. I think, what makes me keep on coming back is knowing that, first of all, from a mental perspective, when you run, exercise, it's amazing. It does something to you, being able to run even on the mountains after 3-4 kilometers, being able to see views. That's crazy. Just like that. It just happens, whether it's a road, whether it's, the trail, just running in general. You are, it's just helping your body become a bit more healthy. You're doing something amazing from the inside out. You're looking after your health. So I don't always have to think about that, that feeling of, I need to look after myself. I need to think about this. And it happens naturally, which is great. So I don't always have to think about certain things in that sense, like health insecurities or anything like that. Like if I just keep on doing it, it just happens. And I'm able to become fit and able to start doing amazing things. What makes me keep on coming back is knowing that, but having goals, and being able to set goals that are realistic and achievable. That's what I enjoy. And, there's lots and lots of goals that I wish to achieve one day. And one day I hope they will be achieved. But it's small steps. It's small little things, And that's for the long term. And it's nice to be able to have those things, with me. And it keeps me going, knowing on to the next thing. There is something else. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the key, is that we have these goals that are there. It's tangible. We can see it. We can feel it. We just got to work towards to get it. And that's what motivates us to get going. Megan, from your perspective,
Okay. Just to add, the thing is, if there isn't goals, it's gonna be difficult to have sometimes that motivation. So there's a difference between motivation and discipline. Discipline is putting on those shoes even when you don't feel like it. That's actually what one needs. And it's like you need to build a habit. What did they say? You can build a habit in, is it 10,000 hours or
21
something like that?
days, 21 days,
21
and then
days.
10,000
There we
hours
go.
perfected.
There we go. So
Yeah.
21 days. It takes time to build a habit where it's part of your cognitive function. You know, it doesn't just happen overnight. So that's the thing, that discipline. You know, sometimes I don't need motivation, it just happens because I have the discipline.
Yeah.
So for some people, they need that motivation. That's also why, like we spoke about, the community or that friend just say, "Come, let's run." You know, how many times did you want to run, and when the moment a friend says, "No, I'm not joining," you don't join as well.
Yeah.
You know, that speaks to, is there that discipline there, or is that the motivation there?
Yeah. 100%. Megan, from your perspective, why do you keep coming back? Why do you put those shoes on?
Because I can. I must say, I always feel very, very privileged because I know that not everyone can do this. And I also know that we live in the most beautiful city. And I get to run here. You know, I love that idea and I love that opportunity. And I am one of those people that I need to set a goal. Yeah, I've already got, my next, what am I going to do next? And if I know that I'm going to be running, for example, that race or that trail run, I will get up in the morning to go for my run because I want to be okay for that race or for that run. And that works for me. So it gives me it puts in place like a little bit of a schedule for me. And so very often, if there's not something, I'll go and run because my friends are running. And I love that. So I'm going to be honest, I don't very often go and run on my own, but I've got these wonderful friends that are always running. so if you say to them, listen, let's go for a run, they're keen, and vice versa. And that's it's so nice because now I don't want to not go. It's become a routine for me, but a routine in a good way, because when I'm finished that run, I feel great. Often while we're running, if they're a bit faster than me, and I have to tell you this, that there are quite a few that are quite fast. So sometimes I really have to push myself. And I like that too. So it's for the training perspective, there are people in our group that are fast runners. And to keep up with them takes a lot out of me. So it challenges me. And that's why I keep on going back, because I know that if I do it more regularly, I find it easier. I also feel so much better from an energy perspective. And like you were saying, Antonio, clear-minded. I sit down and when I work, I'm feeling I've got more energy. I can concentrate better. My sleep is, I've always been really fortunate with sleep, but my sleep is definitely good. So it just has so many spin-offs at the end of the day that I wouldn't want to take something like that out of my life. It's now become, it's part of my life. It's not something I have to slot in. It's part of my day, or my week and my weekend. It would be strange for me if I couldn't do it. And so while I can, and hopefully I will always be able to, I want to do it. I love it.
And that's the key, is finding that happy balance and the benefits for you personally, as opposed to your benefits is different than Antonio. Antonio didn't talk about sleep, but for you, sleep's important, and it's finding why you do it. What is the why for you that keeps getting you to come back? So let me ask you this next question. You both have an expansive sporting history. We have a challenge in South Africa where we don't have that expansive history developing in our youth. What do you think we can do to change that?
I would say from my side, just to start it off, is focusing really on participation. I think a person must never underestimate obviously someone that can perform well and has wonderful talent, and to push that person, but also not to forget the one person that might not be as talented, but if they got the opportunity to participate, they would. And I think that is something. And I think it's a really great thing, especially for the youth of today, because sometimes, like anything, their minds are sharp and they're young and they get bored, and they do things that, because they're inquisitive, or they don't know any better because they're young. And now they get into a circle of where they can, it's a positive, it's a healthy circle. Everyone's doing something, be it a team sport or whatever it might be, that they can play, and then it grows. And I think we really need to get that whole idea of kids are capable of doing so much, and they've got an amazing talent, and they just need the opportunity. And also for the kids that go, well, I really would like to, but I'm not good at it. And to say to them, but that's okay. If you like it, or find something you like, I think that's also very important, and there's so many different options today, for them to just start taking part.
And what I like about you saying is, it's about getting people active. And I have a theory that says, if you're not in the top 4 or 5 at youth, think of becoming an administrator. Think of becoming a coach. Think of becoming a different element of the sport that you enjoy. As an example, let's say you're a runner. You may not be the fastest in the top 5 in the 100 meters, but there's no reason why you still can't continue running, or you can continue running, but be a technical official, be an administrator, to help those who are better to excel. Antonio, what's your view?
It's interesting that you're mentioning that last part, because at Full Send Running, I'm a pacer now, and one of the things we believe is it's about also runners supporting runners. So there we try to organize and plan like stations, by ourselves, for fueling, water, hydration, and all of those things. It all takes planning, and there's someone in there that does all of that planning, and they're very, very good at it. It's crazy. And they are contributing in that way. That's amazing. And you can see this is a skill. This person knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. So that's an example. I like how Mix mentioned participation. I think it's critical. I mean, for me, if I think about my youth, I was in Ocean View, and at the time, it was very safe. I walked the whole Ocean View flat. It was perfectly safe. It was very good. There was no issues there whatsoever. I didn't fear anything. Could walk up and down. It's not the same today. It's very challenging today. Context is important in that sense. For me at the time, I used to play darts, which is amazing. So that also kept my mind off of certain things. The cool thing about that sport is accuracy, the ability to also do some quick maths, to make sure the math is mathing, subtraction, all of that, because I played league.
Yeah.
I played league. So that was quite nice.
501, 501
yes.
singles.
Yeah. All of that, I was grade 8. I played against the best in the Western Cape.
Yeah.
Literally, that was amazing. And I won the league once. I almost represented the Western Province. I was this close. I was so close. Almost did.
One dot away.
So literally, that was me. So close. I also played an instrument, the trombone, in a band, so we used to travel around the Western Cape. We used to play, we used to be able to march, you have to be able to read music, and you just play. It was brass, like jazz, so that's what we used to do. It was amazing. So those are the two things I participated in. I never used to run that much. I don't have the best running history from school, but because I always used to walk up and down, that definitely played a role. But it was in my father's DNA as well. He could have played for Bafana. He was very good at soccer. He was good at cycling. He could run. He could swim. He was good, but it was apartheid. So there was some challenges there. In terms of sports for the youth, I would say participation definitely is key. I think it's important. I think it's crucial. They need to do something. They can't just spend time on their cell phones, on their devices. This is not ideal. This is not good. You
Yeah.
know, I don't have children. I can't speak from experience, but I can see what's happening, and one day I will. And the thing is, it's clear to me that it's important to be able to take a child's mind off of things, especially like sports can do that. You know, if you think about what is going well, I think about rugby. I think about some of the schools in South Africa. In the Western Cape, there's Paul, there's two schools, so the north and the south.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Look at the DNA. Look at what's happening there. How do they train as children? How the children just participate in what's going on there. That is just amazing. It's a fantastic environment. Those environments are not necessarily like on display at every single school. There are
Yeah.
challenges, there. And I think it's important that, like there's intentionality, within communities to find a way to really gather and really like allow sport to be the very thing that brings youth together. You don't want youth to be, engaging in drugs, in all the bad things that can happen, teenage pregnancy. You want the youth to be able to take their minds off of things, For me, sports, it's amazing. It has the ability to do that, where the child doesn't have to now be tempted necessarily and just start thinking about, doing all these bad things,
Yeah.
but they look forward to practice whatever sporting code that is, whether they like it or not. Yes, it's important to just participate.
Yeah.
Maybe they will like it, So I think it's important to have a space, for children, in schools, every school, they were able to have a space where they can participate in sports. It's easier said than done, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I also
And
see
I
it from
just
a
got one.
health perspective.
Go.
Sorry.
Yeah, Meg.
Us, from a health perspective. So if you look at the community, if you look at the kids today, they might come from homes where maybe there's no activity or very minimal activity, is part of the home life. And from a health perspective, long term, you want to basically encourage and also excite the youth about the importance of making that part of their day, because long-term health, and if we look at the burden on the economy and stuff like that, we need to reduce it. And we also, very importantly, kids come from environments that might be quite stressful, and this is a way to get rid of a lot of that, where they can just, as part of their sport, if they basically have to push themselves to the limit or whatever it is by being active. We also know it's a stress relief. It's a way of them, and also a way for many kids to belong. Many kids also don't belong anywhere. And you can form a community when kids play sport. And you were saying, Antonia, about music. I think, two of the most important things, if you can, is both, or at least one or the other, where those two, especially for our youth, can really make a difference. And to, I don't know how they can always be, I think maybe the important things are what can be offered, but there's always some type of activity that can be offered, and it should be part of every day. I personally think of, and I've spoken about this often, is that if you look at places like Japan, they've got some of the best, health statistics in the world. And the reasoning behind it is because they actually start when the kids go to school. And, we're talking from the ages of like 3 and 4, where they, from a nutritional perspective, the kids are offered food that is healthy in the right proportions, and that's what's available. And they do activity, etc. So if there's a routine that's created, and I often think, there should be a routine, kids start their day. When we get older, what happens? Everyone gets like some other injury. Why are they not having, on a day-to-day basis, where kids start, some schools have assembly and whatever else, and once that's over, take X amount of time, be it 10 or 15 minutes, where kids are taught also to do things like stretching, Pilates type, movements to strengthen their bodies from that age on a daily basis where it becomes part of them. So even when they're not at school, they've got the very basics of doing 5 or 10 minutes of stretching every day, which is going to help to reduce these neuromuscular problems later. And then, of course, strengthen them. And then, of course, what you want to do is you want to add in all the benefits of team sports. Because we know also later in business that team sports and also school sports stand you in very good stead. So there's so many benefits to this. It's not just sport. It teaches so many skills, which is actually really exciting. And also, because they're young, it's fun, and that's why you want to have this whole participation.
Absolutely. And if I take a step back, Paul says sometimes fear is your greatest motivator, especially if you commit to something that is just outside your comfort zone. And if you look at that, the fear that we have of not succeeding often drives us to push ourselves to greater heights. So we're coming to the end. So my question then is, taking what Paul's saying, that we often fear that the fear of failure, the fear of not succeeding. What do you do, Megan and Antonio, that keeps you and motivates you to keep coming back? And why would you tell me, who's not a sports person, to be active in sport?
I think for me, the important thing is knowing who you are. It starts with yourself, because if you know who you are and how and what that looks like, the full version of you, it's a good start to be able to tackle life and fully be yourself, And I think it's important, for anyone to ensure that when they express themselves, they are in a position where they can do so fully, without fear, without anything coming against them, but to be fully able to be present and there in the moment,
Yeah.
And mental health, that plays a role. Being able to make sure that you mentally in a very good space. It's easier said than done. There's a lot of things that will come against us from day to day. There's a lot of things that can happen that can harm us, and stop us from becoming who we are. And for me, I've learned the importance of making sure you check in with yourself and making sure you remember who you are from Simba. Remember, Mufasa said that in The Lion King, from the heavens above, and he said to his son, remember who you are. For me, I think about that, a lot these days. And it always encourages me to remember who I am and remember to fully be who I am. So that when I tackle challenges, I can know that I can do so without fearing, without hindering, and I can just, be me. And that really, for me, I think helps me in every area of my life. And I'm grateful that I can run, and that's the thing on the daily that's able to take me to that place also of remembering who I am.
And that's important, is that once we understand who we are, what drives us, what motivates us, what keeps us going, we're then able to your point earlier, set higher and bigger goals, because we know we can achieve it. We just need that commitment and dedication, as you said earlier. Megan, from your perspective?
Yeah, I think very much what Antonio said is also, for me, is you set your goals, you set your challenges. So if what you are attempting to do might look a little bit different, as long as you go out there to try and achieve what you've set yourself to do, and that I think is important. And to remember that if you don't make it that time, that's not total failure. You have an opportunity to come back. That's, we try again. It's a matter to be true to yourself and also to be honest with yourself. And sometimes it humbles us, but there's another opportunity. And it might look very different, and it might have, and I think once again, that's the whole thing, is to, when things don't quite go our way, to stand up, you dust yourself off and go, right, what went wrong here? To look at it and to say, was it realistic? To to say to yourself, honestly, do I really want it? And then to say, well, yes, if I do, let me try again. There's nothing wrong with trying again, and saying, well, this time maybe these were the things that didn't work. We set ourselves goals and we set ourselves challenges, and sometimes they don't go our way. And it's like, people train hard for something, and on the day something goes wrong. But it's not all lost. The fact that you actually, got to train for it, the fact that you actually pitched up there, that's already a win. And then you do something and maybe it doesn't go quite your way. Try again. It's not lost. And I think that's what really is nice about, setting your own goals and your, in the challenges that you have is basically retrospectively looking at it and then going, fine, it didn't work. And I'm going to give it another shot. Yeah. And I think that is also nice about the running community. We've seen all of people go through different challenges with health and with injuries, and they come back. They look after themselves. Sometimes they have to be off quite a while, and they have to do certain physio or whatever else they have to do, and exercises because they've really badly injured themselves or even an operation. Yeah. Then they come back, and sometimes it looks different. And sometimes it's better, and sometimes it's so different, and they didn't think they'd ever be there, but they do things that they never thought they would do, and they love it. So, yeah.
What's interesting is, if I listen to both of you, you speak about goals that are not achieved and how that links to mental health. Because often we see it as a failure, and my life is over because I didn't get a sub 3 or a sub 4 or a sub 60-minute 10K. Yet, we put ourselves under all that pressure, Antonio, because we're now chasing the targets. And we don't get the target, and we think, I'm useless. Yet, like Megan said, and like you said, there's a community around us that drives us and supports us to keep us to coming back. In closing, what would be your words of encouragement to everybody watching? Both of you. Who's going to go? That's the question. Who's going first? Okay, Megan, you go first.
Okay.
Ladies first.
So for me, I would say to everyone out there, find something you love and start. If you're not in the game already, start. People will welcome you, no matter what club or what community you decide to be involved in. You are basically stepping into something where you're going to be welcomed and you are going to have a support group. And never think that you're not quite fit enough yet, because I often get that. It's like, no, I first want to do this and then I'll join. No, join. Push yourself to join. Once you're there, you'll see that people they just enjoy the fact that you have a similar mindset. You're like-minded. And you're going to get there. You're going to reach your goals. So go and have a look at what you want to achieve. Start this weekend. It's a wonderful opportunity because in actual fact, it's a long weekend. So start, whatever it might look like, and give it a try. And one thing I have to say as well is it's not going to be easy. Don't expect it to be. Otherwise, you would have done it a long time ago. But hang in there. Give it a try, get to know people. Say, I'll give it to the end of the year, and then you reassess. But I can tell you right now that you'll meet such wonderful people, whichever thing you decide to do when it comes to sport, that there's very little chance that you wouldn't want to go back.
And don't be fooled that there will be a few negative people, but focus on the positive people. There will be one or two. Always.
Always.
I would say health is wealth. That's the term we use a lot. There's so many people that they don't always prioritize their mental health. They don't always, have these type of goals. A lot of people put so much effort into certain things that sometimes they forget, but this exercise. And for me, I want to encourage everyone listening to exercise, to move, to be able to do something that really gives life to your body, And for me, that's what it does. Whatever form that may be, put yourself in a position where you can refresh your mental state. I think that's important. Because some of us, it's for all of us, even myself, it's not always easy to deal with the truth. It's not always easy to deal with harsh realities. And sometimes we need to deal with those things. And that's where that mental health comes into play. Mental health is important. It's important to look after this, after your mental health. Being able to move, it does sort of help also with that, in many different aspects. Think about this question: how many times did you want to wake up to do something, and you thought, "I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this." You decide to do it, like a run. You decide to go for it, and you come back and you're like, oh my goodness, why did I even doubt myself in the first place? How amazing was it?
Yeah.
And that can even be for something new. I'm sure many of us, have thought, their seeds planted. Yeah, I need to start running. I need to start cycling. I need to go to the gym. I need to do this and do that. Maybe the commitment is not there. So obviously, joining a group that will definitely help for sure. Joining a park and joining an expansive group, that does help, in many different cases. But I think the important thing really is to start, because if you don't start, you'll never do it.
Absolutely. And Melody says on Instagram, thank you for sharing. Definitely thought provoking. I'm looking forward to start swimming again. So definitely. Um, but in order to help Melody, one of the things you both spoke about earlier is an accountability component. You spoke about it in a different form. You have a community. We need to find someone to keep us accountable to get up, Antonio, to go and do it. Megan spoke about it. She's checking her phone to see who's canceling it at 5 o'clock in the morning because people are held accountable for being there. So ultimately, we need to find someone who's going to keep us accountable. Someone who's going to say, "Hey, I missed you at training this morning. Where have you been? Are you okay?" To your point, Antonio, from a mental health perspective, check in with people, find out how people are really doing. Not just expect a hello, I know I'm okay, but are you really okay? And those are the kinds of things that we need, that a community in sport builds. It builds character, it builds commitment, and more importantly, it builds a healthy community. To the two of you, thank you for holding the fort. The other two, we'll interview them on another occasion, but the two of you, thank you for being part and for sharing your journey with us. For everybody else that's tuned in on Insta, YouTube, and Facebook, thank you for sharing. Come back next week, 8 o'clock, same time. And if this excites you, tomorrow night, I'll go live on Facebook and YouTube for a podcast on our radio station, Afrika, where we're going to be talking about GBV and women-related topics. I'll be interviewing a woman called Shanita George, and some of the topics that she wants to cover. Listen to this, Antonio. GBV, self-worth, reach for your dream, the sky's your limit. So that's a conversation for tomorrow night on Facebook and YouTube, same and as well as on Africa Radio. So thank you. See you tomorrow at 6 if you're up for it. Otherwise, next week we're back here, same time, same place. Have a good week. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers, YouTube.